Hi, good evening, Gerald.
Hi. Fine,
Nice
thank
to see
you.
you. Nice to see you. I think that you could see me now. Yeah.
Yeah, very well. It's
Excellent.
okay.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So
Thank
many
you for meeting.
kilometers. So many kilometers. We know that it's quite early for you in this morning. What time is in Mendoza?
Now it's 8 a.m., so it's my breakfast time normally. But it's okay. I'm an early guy.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So yes, I have a little bit of trouble in this moment to share some of your bio. I will try while we are talking, but maybe to introduce you to the audience, please tell us a bit more about you. Who is Gérald Gabillet?
So who is Gérald Gabillet? Good question. So I'm a French guy. I think you can hear it. So I'm a Bordeaux enologist, and often I introduce myself as a Bordeaux guy. So because I have done all my career in Bordeaux before to come here in Argentina, and so I have started in 2001 in Saint-Émilion, close of Saint-Émilion, in Côte de Castillon. And I've done a big part of my career on the right bank of Bordeaux.
Excellent. So right bank from Bordeaux. When did you move to Argentina, to Mendoza? 2018. You maybe tell me.
I moved 2 years ago in August 2018. So it has been now 2 years, and you can imagine it's a big change for me after 20 years in Bordeaux. Big part of my career is there, and now I am far from 12,000 kilometers, so it's quite far.
Excellent, excellent. So maybe you could tell us and tell it to the audience how was difficult or it was easy for you to leave everything there in Bordeaux to travel to Mendoza.
So first, I want to explain a bit why I have moved. I was searching a new challenge, and of course, when Chateau Cheval contact you and suggest to you to go for them in Argentina, you think about that, and it was a special offer. So, well, what is the big change for me? It's of course after 20 years, and all my references were in Bordeaux. So the challenge was to discover a new area, first a new country, a new culture, and then professionally new terroirs. So terroirs, when you speak about terroir, of course, you speak about the specificity of a place, from the climate, microclimate, the soil, the subsoil, and at the center of all these elements, you have the vineyard and the plants. So it was quite new for me, and as I told you, a challenge, a professional challenge, and a family challenge too, a project. So I moved with my children and my wife 2 years ago here in Argentina.
Excellent. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about how was your first vintage and what was the reason that pushed you to become a winemaker?
The reasons. So I'm not coming from a viticulturist family. My father has a company in building. So he was fond of about wine. So maybe, and I'm sure it's him. He is the responsible why I became a winemaker, because he gave me his passion for wine. And after I have done a general cursus at high school, and then I had to decide about a professional job, and I decided to start in viticulture and enology, and straightly with a passion for wine. I follow all the cursus, and now I'm here in Argentina as a winemaker. So I think if you want to be a winemaker, you need patience, and I'm convinced about this.
Excellent. So your really first vintage really marked your life. So what about your most memorable vintage? Maybe in Argentina, because you just have arrived in 2018, so you are preparing maybe your first vintage. But what about your previous vintage in Bordeaux, particularly in the right bank?
Sorry, I didn't answer to the previous question. My first vintage as responsible and as winemaker was 2001 in a small winery, as I told you, in Côte de Castillon. And for me, the memorable vintage, one of the memorable vintage was 2010, sorry, which is for me an exceptional vintage in Bordeaux. And why it is a bit special for me too, I was at Château Beauregard in Pomerol. I was in charge of making the wine, and it was, I was ready or more mature, and so it was quite special for me because I have done a great wine, and I was satisfied on that, and people recognize it. So it was quite a special, and all conditions were exceptional this vintage. And for amateur, this vintage is an exceptional vintage, and I am an amateur of wine, so it's why 2010, is quite special for me.
So probably 2010 also is your benchmark, your personal benchmark for what you want to achieve also in Argentina.
Yeah, maybe it's, I don't know really. I don't understand the question. Sorry. It's
No, if you think like you want to achieve the same success that you had in 2010 in
yeah, of course. Yeah, sorry. Every vintage is a challenge, and every vintage you want to make the best wine, but we have to adapt to climate conditions, and so it's quite a challenge every year, and so it's a bit stressful sometimes, but maybe viticulturists and winemakers are like it. So it's a quite special job. I think so. A bit of stress is good too.
Excellent. Maybe we could move a little bit more on the foundation of Cheval des Andes and the milestone of Cheval des Andes during 1999. Probably you could tell us a bit more how has been the evolution since the venture also before with the Cheval, with Terrazas de Los Andes, and therefore with the arrival with Pierre Lurton and Cheval Blanc influence.
Yeah, so just to introduce Cheval des Andes, it's a joint venture between Château Cheval Blanc in Saint-Émilion and Bodega Terrazas de Los Andes in Argentina, in Mendoza here. So in 1999, it's a bit a meeting between Pierre Lurton and Roberto de la Mota, who is a famous winemaker in Argentina here. He was in charge of Terrazas de Los Andes, and they decided to create an association, a collaboration between both wineries, and so Château Cheval Blanc gave its name to Cheval des Andes, and so it was at the beginning. Roberto de la Mota was in charge, and Nicolas Audebert, where everything was a bit included. Was included in Terrazas de Los Andes. And in 2010 to 2011, Pierre Lurton decided to came back a bit in this joint venture, and to apply a bit more the Cheval Blanc philosophy, because the Cheval Blanc was a bit far, but they were observing that the style of the wine wasn't at their image. So he asked for Montenici and to Terrazas de Los Andes, please let us, so it means the Cheval Blanc team, let us come and to apply our vision, our philosophy. And so for us, it has started in 2012, and with the advices of Pierre-Olivier Clouet, the technical manager of Château Cheval Blanc, who comes 3-4 times a year to follow this, to accompany us to in the technical part, and more about the technical part, more in communication and everything, more philosophy.
Excellent. So, Gerald, you mentioned as the great influence that Cheval Blanc also has done in Cheval des Andes. So, when we think in Cheval, in Cheval Blanc, we think about a Grand Cru. How you could explain to the audience the fact that Cheval des Andes is considered itself as a Grand Cru, since we don't have probably the same conditions. Maybe you could tell me, probably no, that what is considered a Grand Cru that as we have in Bordeaux, as we have in France.
So it's a sensitive question, because as you know, you could have different definitions of a cru, or Grand Cru, because you have different. In Burgundy, for example, you have one definition. In Bordeaux, another one. The notion of cru in Bordeaux, you have a classification. Same in Burgundy. But for us, the project and the goal since 2012, it is to produce a wine as a cru. So it means the goal was to use our own grapes from our vineyard, and to make the wine with the grapes from our vineyard, our own vineyard. So it is quite new, but not new because we are not alone in Argentina. But often you have a bit two worlds in Argentina. You have the grapes producers, and you have the wineries, and the wineries buy grapes and to make the wines. You have some wineries they have their own vineyard too, but it's quite another vision, and the Cheval Blanc vision was to make the wine only with the own grapes. So it is the notion of cru we have, and this.
So you could consider as Cheval des Andes is the pioneer about this new concept, since in South America it's more like buying a grape.
We have not this pretension, because it has been only 20 years we are in Argentina. We have to learn a lot about the terroir. We continue, and every year we learn, and I think all the viticulturists would say the same. It's never finished. We have to learn every year. Every vintage is different, and so pioneer, yes and no. What it is our strength, it is our savoir-faire. It's quite important, because we are coming from Grand Cru from Bordeaux. I was before at Château Angelus. The Cheval Blanc team has lots of knowledge and lots of savoir-faire, and so we export. We have decided to export it and to try to apply it with the tools we have here in Argentina. And the first thing, the most important thing, it is to understand where we are and the conditions where we are, and then to try to interpret all these elements and to try to give an identity to our wine.
Okay, and how difficult also is to explain your team in Argentina to the concept of Grand Cru. For them is easy, like for you is something probably new when you came to Mendoza, and now, for example, irrigation system, which is necessary.
Yeah, of course, this it is for Bordeaux irrigation, you could imagine. We have not the same amount of rains per year, so it's quite different. Here in Argentina, you have around 200 millimeters per year, when in Bordeaux you could have 1,000 and a bit more. So we need irrigation, and I think Chateau Cheval has done the things in the right order. So of course, Argentinian people have lots of knowledge about irrigation, but we haven't with the goal of production we have, and with the goal of grapes, the quality of the grapes we have. We need someone, and we have a special consultant. He's called Xavier Chaunet. He's a French guy. He could be American, Spanish, doesn't matter. But he's a specialist of hydric stress. So in 2015, we have started a collaboration with him, and we have an exclusivity in Argentina with him. So it's quite we are lucky. And he helped us a lot about this notion of hydric stress, which is quite important here in Argentina with these extreme climate conditions, and it permits to us to valorize a lot of Cabernet Sauvignon, which were more sensitive to hydric stress than the Malbec, but it helped us too with the Malbec. So, but since 2015, we have more knowledge about this, and we develop in the right way, we think.
And so, you tell me about irrigation, and also the fact that we could consider Cheval Desseauve as a wine, a cru of terroir. So, since we have irrigation, the concept of terroir is also
this it is I understand perfectly your question, and I think it's logical what you are thinking. What you have to, if you come in Mendoza, you will, and I'm sure you are. I don't know if you came here, but you understand it quickly. We are at the feet of the Andes, and at the end, water is a part of irrigation. We could say that it's a part of our terroir, because the rains are blocked by the Andes, and then the water we use comes from the Andes. So it's the snow melt we use, and this year we are quite happy because it has been 20 years we have not the same amount of snow in the mountains. So it means for us water, and it means less stress with the access of water for the next seasons. So it's quite and this water is not the water we use. It has been it's not on the only last centuries we are using this water. All the canals we use were built by the Incas, so it's quite special. When you could imagine, it's the first civilization here who has created these canals to permit the agriculture and the culture here in Mendoza.
Fantastic. And we discovered a little bit about the terroir concepts. So, how is the fact to work for you in a cool climate in high altitude with a precision viticulture? Tell us about the two specific vineyards that we have in Cheval Desseauve.
Yeah, so for people who doesn't know Mendoza, the Mendoza area, it's a province, and the Mendoza vineyard is a large vineyard. It's the largest in Argentina, and so you have different areas. We here in Cheval des Andes we have two what we call fincas, so it means two vineyards. One in the oldest part, very close of Mendoza, one of the oldest part of the Mendoza vineyard in Luján de Cuyo, and we are at the highest part of this vineyard at 1,070 meters, and it is our main vineyard. There we have 32 hectares. And we have a bit of Malbec, Cabernet Sauvignon, and a bit of Petit Verdot there. And then we have another finca, 80 kilometers far from our finca of Las Compuertas at the south. So it means for people of the north hemisphere at the north, so a cooler area, and at a bit more higher altitude. And it is in Altamira. So now Las Compuertas and Altamira are very famous IGE, we say here, so geographical indications in Mendoza. So we have 15 hectares in Altamira, and there we have a majority of Malbec, and very interesting because with cooler conditions, higher temperature, different soils, we have a more floral Malbec, and we are very interested in the fact we have two profiles of Malbec, two profiles. One in Las Compuertas, a bit more sweety, velvety, and the other one in Altamira, more floral, fresher Malbec. And when you blend them, you have something special. So it's quite interesting to have two areas. Two fincas, because you give more complexity. It's the vision of Cheval Blanc for the beginning, and it has been 2 years I'm living in Argentina. It has been 2 years I've done 2 vintages now, and really it's quite interesting to have these two terroirs.
Okay, so to recapping a little bit what you are telling us is Luján de Cuyo, Las Compuertas, is a floral Malbec, fresh Malbec?
No, this is in Altamira, in the Valle de Uco, sorry.
Yes, fresh Malbec.
In Las Compuertas, you have a more, I don't know exactly the image of Malbec that people have. I know a bit, but it's more a sweety Malbec, a bit more sugary Malbec. A bit more, you have warmer conditions. So you can imagine that you have another profile, more dark fruits, and more velvety on the palate.
Excellent. In what is the proportion for other grape varieties on the side of?
Yeah. So historically, we had 5 grape varieties, and it was because Chateau Cheval Blanc wanted to try Merlot and Cabernet Franc, which are their grape varieties in Saint-Emilion. But we saw that our terroirs were not very well adapted, and they preferred to develop more Cabernet Sauvignon. And we have a big proportion of Cabernet Sauvignon in Las Compuertas, and we believe a lot in Cabernet Sauvignon. So, of course, Malbec is very important for our blend, but more and more, step by increase the proportion of Cabernet Sauvignon, which is quite interesting in Las Compuertas. And we have planted, because we are not close-minded, we observed, planted 2 hectares in Altamira last year. So we will see the result, because we have seen that we have nice Cabernet Sauvignon too in Uco Valley. So, and we have a bit of Petit Verdot. So we have only, we have 1 hectare of Petit Verdot now. And this Petit Verdot is a bit special because in 2001, Paul Pontalier, the general manager, who was a general manager of Chateau Margaux, gave some plants to Pierre Lurton, telling him, try this grape variety there. And so it's quite a bit sentimental grape variety for us, but step by step we favorize more Malbec and Cabernet Sauvignon because sometimes Petit Verdot has a bit of rusticity, and it's we have not the same terroir as the Chateau Margaux.
Excellent. So, and Gerald, when we think also about Argentina, or mine, probably in my mind, and maybe some of the audience, about Malbec. So, what is the difference for you? How you could make a comparison with the Malbec that we find in Argentina and Mendoza with those Malbec vines that we could find in Cahors in France?
So, what people have to know it's that the Malbec we use here in Argentina came from France. It was a French agronomist, Michel-Aimé Pouget, at the end of the 19th century, who import here in Argentina, was imported some plants of Malbec because he thought that the terroir was interesting for the Malbec, and so the clones we use are the same clones you could find in Cahors, but of course historically some clones were more developed here than in Cahors, and so because you have to adapt your plant to the terroir. The main difference, and then step by step you have some massal selections, so we have different plants step by step. What is the main difference for me? It is because of climate conditions and the soil, of course, but with warmer climate conditions, as we have in Mendoza, you have a Malbec with slightly more expression. It's a bit an explosion of aromas, but at the end you make some fine wines in Cahors, in France, for example, which is the country, the area of Malbec in France, the main area, and Mendoza or Argentina. You have to make fine wines too. It is the most important thing.
Great. Gerald, we have a question from our audience. It's Andrew, who is asking, that is very interesting, and if you could explain us through some of the difference of expression you find in the Bordeaux varieties due to terroir.
Yeah, but if I find some different differences with the different terroir, is that the question?
Yes, probably. Let me read it again. Can you please tell? Yes, exactly this. Yes, is what you say.
Yeah. Of course, and I'm tasting a lot of Argentine wines now, so I'm very curious, and it's quite interesting because I want to understand more. Of course, I've done all my big majority of my life in Bordeaux, but I'm very curious. I'm fond of about Spanish wines. I went to Spain often, Burgundy, Grand Valley, and of course you understand that the terroir has an impact on the grapes. So Cabernet Sauvignon, for example, from Médoc, is not the same Cabernet Sauvignon we have here in Argentina. But what is the most important thing that people has to understand? It is an interpretation of the place. What we try to do at the Max Square, our own interpretation, and we have to give an identity to our wine, and so we use the elements we have, which are the grape varieties and the terroir where they are. So it's of course, and Mendoza is as I told you, is a large place, and you have an amount of different terroirs. Imagine our two vineyards, you have 80 kilometers far. So it's nearly the north of Bordeaux area. If you could compare north of Médoc and for example, I don't know, Grave. So you are not the same terroir, although you have 80, 100 kilometers far. And here at the feet of the Andes, we have, of course, this area is very interesting about when you start to observe the soil and the subsoil. You have, for example, in Las Compuertas, we have the depth of the soil before the subsoil is 3 meters. In Altamira, you could have some stones, enormous stones, and I was, wow, it's the first astonished, and it was I was impressive about this. You have big stones, enormous stones at 50 centimeters. So you could imagine that's quite different. And of course, your vine will not give the same fruit at the end or the same expression aromatically because of the soil and the latitude and the altitude. It is quite complex, Mendoza, and very interesting.
Excellent. So another guest from the audience is asking, what's the biggest difference? Probably you could make something very short for people to remember. What's the big difference between Argentine wine and Bordeaux wine? It's a quite large question, but maybe you could help us. Of course, we discuss about the terroir, but yeah.
Now, Bordeaux wines, of course, but we have not the same grapes, but we could find a bit. We have the same grapes, but not the same blends at the end. We have no Merlot Cabernet Franc here, like in Cheval or I don't know, Merlot Cabernet Sauvignon. For us, the Merlot here in Argentina, it's the Malbec. So Malbec is not Merlot. So what it is the most the biggest difference for me, it's a bit the impact of climate conditions on the grapes, and so in your wine. You could imagine that we are at the 33 parallels, so we are at the south of Spain here in Mendoza. If you compare with Europe, we are not on the 45 parallel like in Bordeaux. So it's quite different. So you have warmer conditions. We have very warm summer in general. So the style of the wine is impacted, of course. But what it saves a bit Mendoza is the altitude. The altitude permits to have fresher conditions during the night, but you have very warm conditions during the day. So of course, the wines are. It's why often I was telling that the Malbec is very expressive, because with warm conditions, often you have something with. I say in French, it's you feel the sun a bit. It's sunny wine because you feel it a bit. It's solaire, I say in French, but it's quite interesting. But of course, and then the other aspect, it is all the history that Bordeaux winery has. The style is very well defined, and there is a sort of classicism, which and people. Here in Argentina, it's more. It's easier to change a bit to give a style to your wine, because it has been only 20 years, and when you compare with Bordeaux wineries, it has been centuries they are making wine, and the style of Bordeaux is very well defined for people. In Argentina, we are a bit more free, and we can express a bit more ourselves, I think, or to try to find our identity. And it was a challenge of Cheval at the beginning.
But with your also the last changes, and since you the arrival from Lorenzo, your arrival, so the future is bright. Like the identity is really.
I hope so.
Also, what was the dream of Pierre Lurton and all the team from Cheval Blanc, I think.
Yeah, of course. It's well, Cheval is very people that doesn't know really. When we were talking about the evolution of Cheval des Andes the last 20 years, just quickly, we consider that it's quite new Cheval des Andes, and the first employee dedicated to Cheval des Andes, it was at 100%. So it means that before it was the Terrazas team, which was in charge of Cheval des Andes. So it was everything is what mixed and not clear. But the first person was Lorenzo Paschini, and now Lorenzo is working at Chateau Giscourt in Margaux, and he was the first employee dedicated at 100% of Chateau for Cheval des Andes. Now we are more than 15 employees, so you can imagine, and we develop the team every year because we want to have our own team to apply the Cheval Blanc philosophy.
I have a really interesting question from Hugo. He is asking to you, what innovation did you bring into the winemaking? Are you using your experience, or do you look into the latest trends? Less new oak, whole bunch, etc. Maybe also amphors in the future. I don't know.
So no, it's an interesting question. Winemaking for us it's easy. We are not very interventionist, so we I don't like to say we communicate. It's not, but we are completely transparent about that, and it's clear for us. We are more viticulturist than winemaker, so it's and we spend more time. So for me, it's quite I'm an enologist, so it's a bit strange, but I spend more time in the vineyard because we know that to make a great wine, you need great grapes. And this it is the Cheval Blanc philosophy, what we are applying, and in people who drink great wines knows that because it's quite logical. And then we want the natural expression of our terroir, and so we need them to extract too much. We extract normally, we can say, or lightly, and at the end we have to. What is the most important thing in winemaking when you want to make a great wine? It's to be precise, to control maximum of details, and we have worked a lot in the integration of the oak. So the aging is very interesting too. So we have changed lots of things, like the size of the barrels. We have barrels of 400 liters. Sorry, we have some food now. It wasn't the case before. Historically, we had only Bordeaux barrels, but now we work a lot on the origin of the oak, of course the toast of the barrels, and the size of the barrels. I lost you, Cristina.
Sorry. Yes, I am here. So no intentions for you in the moment to use some like a last trend as amphor barrels, like we could see, or the X barrels that we are seeing in this moment in Bordeaux, as Ponte Canet is using from a while.
I think each winemaker has his own vision. For example, I think now we have to adapt ourselves to the consumer. We saw that people are searching more freshness in the wine, less oak, more fruitness, and a way to have a more expression of your wine. It is to manage at the best this the aging. So, but we haven't to forget we are making long aging wines. So this it is important we will never stop aging in barrels, for example. I don't think so. It's necessary. It's a part of the adding of potential of aging of our wines. We have to find the best way to satisfy our consumers too, but we are without losing our identity and our style, which is for us to make fresh wine, elegant wine, and with potential of aging. It is really our vision, and we never forget these 3 key points, which are for us very, very important.
Yeah, Gerald, and just to tell to the audience, if we don't have the time to answer all the questions, don't be worried. We will have you have the email, and then probably I will contact later.
Yeah, of course.
Gerald.
Of course, with pleasure. With great pleasure.
So don't be sad if we don't reply all the questions. We have a 3 vintage today to try it. So 2016, 2017, and 2012 in this order. So maybe we could try together.
Yeah, I think so. I think we could start with the 2 youngest vintages, 2016 and 2017, and start with 2016, which is I will tell you, but a special vintage for us. So maybe I could show you something. Yeah, I have my. So, okay, sorry. Oh, what happens? Why haven't on full screen?
It's easy for you to share?
View. Yeah, sorry. I will share now. Oh, host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, you can now. You could share. You could try it again.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Up.
While you're opening the document, maybe you could tell us about the conditions of 2016 vintage.
Yeah. So 2016 is a very, very special vintage for us in Argentina, because you have a climatic phenomenon, very special. It is the El Niño. So I have heard about this, but you have to come here in Argentina to know more about this phenomenon. So it doesn't concern only Argentina; it concerns all South America, and it is a cold and humid and wet stream which is coming from the Pacific, and of course it has an impact on the climate conditions. So. And it happens every 18, 20 years, so it's quite special. And you have, of course, more rains than classic.
Sorry, Gerald. It's not something like this current that we could be similar as in Bordeaux.
Yeah, I'm nothing about. For Argentinian people and for Mendoza people, when you have more than 500 millimeters, it's a very rainy season. For people from Bordeaux, 70. So in 2016, it's what we had. We had 700 millimeters, and we are laughing a bit because we laugh a bit because it's few, but it's quite interesting because you have cooler temperature, some rain, so less hydric stress, and in 2016, no hydric stress. So very interesting for the growing cycle of the vine, and in our research of freshness, these conditions were perfect for us. So. Very interesting conditions, and the wine you have in the glass is quite represent, and it is exactly what we want. Represent the climate conditions we had in 2016. So we are very proud of the result. Very proud. I'm French, sorry. It's a great satisfaction. And what is quite special, that's why it's a great satisfaction too, for us, it is the first vintage made with 100% with our own grapes. And this, for us, because historically, and step by step since 2012, Cheval Blanc was trying to use at the maximum the own grapes from our two fincas. But and so step by step, you add more and more own grapes. For example, 2014, 70%, 2015, 90%, and we succeed in 2016 to use only our own grapes. And this it is for us a great satisfaction, and it was important because it means that we are now a cru, and it is what I told you at the beginning of the webinar. It was when we were communicating about the Grand Cru of the Andes. To be honest, it wasn't true at 100% because of that. And for Cheval Blanc, it was very important to be transparent and to say we are a cru, so we use only our own grapes, and we have to control at maximum and to walk in the vineyard first. We are viticulturists. It is very important. So the blend of this wine, quickly, you have it's not written. It's on the second. Sorry.
It's the second
sorry. So you have 58% of Malbec, 37% of Cabernet Sauvignon, and 5% of Petit Verdot. It was a bit the classic blend of Cheval des Andes for the last 10 years with these three grape varieties. And sometimes you had a bit of Merlot, a bit of Cabernet Franc, but Cheval Blanc was more and more focused on the Malbec, with the Malbec and the Cabernet Sauvignon, and less Petit Verdot, and they finished with Merlot and Cabernet Franc. The second wine, I have to come back.
The second wine, Gerald, how about the aromatic profile? Maybe you could describe very quickly the aromatic.
Yeah, sorry. No, as I told you, the great satisfaction was the freshness of this wine, and so we have fresh fruits on the nose. And what we like with the vineyard we have in Altamira is the floral aspect too. So a great satisfaction on that. What we search every year, and often it's a bit more hidden. We will see with the 2017, hidden by the structure of the wine. But with the 16, you have a tension, very interesting, and it was this which was quite new too for Cheval des Andes, because historically you had often more structure, more. We speak about sugary aspects of the Malbec, and we try to fight and to search every year to have this sugary taste, which is a bit heavy, and people doesn't want to. It's a bit dangerous for the Malbec wines, because people are tired when they taste, they drink. They will drink one glass, but the second glass is often.
That's true. For the temperature of service, maybe something important for knowing for our audience. Temperature of service, and maybe how long decanted wine.
Yeah. So with a 16, you could serve this wine 16. I like to serve the wine a bit cooler, and to not say I like 16 degrees. 16 degrees, 15, 16 degrees, because often then in your glass the wine is at 17, 18 degrees, and we have for me, it's important to serve at this temperature, because we are not making wine at 12.5 of alcohol. We have between 13.5, 14 degrees now. And I think 16 is the right temperature to have alcohol, because if you have your wine at 19, 20 degrees, but all the wines, but more when you have around 14 degrees, you feel a bit more the alcohol. So be careful with that. And sincerely, at 16, for me, it's the perfect temperature.
Excellent. So let's move to the second wine, and I think that you have a surprise in terms of the label. And maybe you could also mention about of course, the tasting notes, how was the year, and also about the label itself and this new change and makeup of that you decide for this vintage.
Yeah. So this vintage for us is I think I was speaking about satisfaction for the first one, but it is a concretization with this vintage. So we came back a bit at classic climate conditions for Mendoza with a very warm summer, and this summer was a bit exceptional because you have extreme temperatures in January, and so that's quite yes, nice. It's in Spanish. Sorry, I've done. So people, you will learn to Spanish now. Sorry for that. I will.
Yes, it's true. I'm sorry, since I also.
No, it's my fault. I don't know why I'm.
But you could tell us. You could tell us. I think that we could.
So yeah, I will find
maybe you could, at the time that you tried to look on the document, tell us about how was 2017. It was a fantastic year.
Warm summer, very warm, and so a bit dangerous for the grapes because when you have it is too warm, you could have some. Of course, you have hydric stress, so it's very dangerous for the cycle of the vine, and at the same sorry, I want to find it. But we were lucky because at the end of February and March and April were cooler, and so it permits to us to have great conditions and to have fresher characteristic at the end, and permits to find a better balance between the structure and the aromatic palette of the wine.
What is
so
the
now
blend, Gerald?
The blend is a bit and it is a bit on it confirms a bit what I was saying before. We have only Malbec and Cabernet Sauvignon, and we have only 62% of Malbec, and we have 38% of Cabernet Sauvignon, which is it shows you that we are developing, we are believing a lot in Cabernet and more, and we work a lot in the vineyard for that because we love Cabernet Sauvignon we have in Las Campagnas. We will see in the future in Argentine, and we have a goal, which is to make a blend 50-50. For us, it may be a nice balance for wine to have a juicy aspect of a Malbec, and people like this aspect of Malbec wines. And on the other side, the elegancy, the potential of aging of a Cabernet Sauvignon. So this it is quite interesting, and of course, when you come from Bordeaux, you love to make blends, and for us it is the blend we think with Cheval Blanc, which is maybe the most adapted with a vineyard we have, and with a goal of product we want to offer to our customers.
Yeah, I think that the tasting the wine, you could feel it slightly more warm in mouth, but
exactly.
This side, the detention of the wine, that is really an evidence, and this mega perfect wine also for aging. I think that compared with 2016, these are wines a bit more lighter, and then in here we have something that is more, it's a wine ready for aging actually. So how many years you could consider this wine should it stay at the cellar before to tasting?
Drink it to taste it. We are making wine with the vision we have for people. We think that people have to wait 5 years before to open our wines, but the potential of aging, we think in our wine it is more 10, 15 years. The climax of our wines, we are making wine for that.
10, 15 years. Excellent. Maybe you could, we could discuss later about the wine pair. Yeah. You could suggest us the aromatic profile, maybe before to move to 2012.
Yeah, 2017 is more. And you said that it's more. You feel a bit more the warmer conditions, and so you have more black fruit. And what is interesting, you have this nice structure on the palate, which you have a sort of cashmere taste, which is quite interesting, and of course you have at the back this tension, which gives. Which permit to the wine to be alive. It is a bit more. When I've tasted it now, and I like the oak of this wine, and the I think the oak is very well integrated, and it was the first year we used some food, and it is very special for us, and I think we have a good balance between the oak tannins and white tannins, and we have a better integration. Of course, we have a bit more structure than the 2016, but it is a bit one of the characteristics of 2017.
Excellent. So just for explain to the audience, maybe they know already what is food and the quantity, how big is food with a regular bottle.
We have. So I told you we use Bordeaux barrels, 400 liters, and food is a bigger volume. It's 2,500 liters. So you can, it's around 10 times the size of a barrel. So it's like a small tank, a wooden tank, and the goal is to have more fruitness. And less oak tannins, of course, because of the size of the barrel of food, and so more freshness, more tension, and a bit of oak tannins, which is important for potential of aging.
Excellent. So let's try then 2012. What you could tell us about 2012?
2012, so very special for us too, and sincerely, it is a bit the vintage we like to start to introduce a sort of a short vertical, because it's really the coming back of Cheval Blanc in this joint venture.
I'm sorry, Gerald, the technical sheet with you.
Sorry, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you completely.
Sorry, with the Spanish, it's
No, you're right. I'm sorry for that.
Mistakes.
Yes, it is 2012. So, 2012, of course, I was in France too, but very interesting vintage, because it's really the coming back of Cheval Blanc in this joint venture. Pierre-Olivier Clouet was here in Mendoza for the picking, so he was tasted. He has tasted the grapes, and straightly he defined the days of picking, and so it's quite Cheval Blanc with this vintage, started to be involved in the vineyard, which was their goal. And when you look at the blend, it's more a classic blend, and as I told you before, it was a 66% Malbec, 26% Cabernet Sauvignon, and you have 8% of Petit Verdot, which was often the case. For example, if you take the 2010 of Cheval des Andes, you have 20%, which was enormous. And so less. Now we have decided to use it, not each vintage.
Aromatic profile for this wine is already it's already arrived on its peak, or we could still keep the wine for a few years.
So you will have less potential of aging with this vintage than the two first wines. I'm sure about this. Because, as you know, you can change the technical details that you need times. But I think it's the right moment to drink it. That's why I choose this vintage. You see that now we are not on the secondary aromas. We have started the transformation in tertiary aromas. So you have more truffles, you have more all of these tertiary aromas you can find in a wine who has 10, 12 years. This wine has 8 years, so it shows you that why we are very focused on giving the potential of aging in our wine. More potential of aging in our wine because we want that the wine has more freshness and more tension to open it in 10, 15 years.
Excellent. Gerald, if we could, we are running out of the time, and I want to also go very quickly to the wine pairing. How you could describe in one word or two words the three vintages that we have tried with you today?
Yeah, so I think I used for each vintage with the word. For me, 2012, we could call him maybe the Phoenix or maybe the Genèse. I don't know the traduction of Genèse. Because it's a very special vintage for us because it's a symbol because Cheval Blanc was with this vintage was more involved. 2016, I use a lot the word satisfaction, and really it represents all the job that the team has done during 4 or 5 years before. And 2017, it is concretization, or because after 16, we have seen that we are in the good direction and we have to continue in this direction. And now our wine has an identity, is fresh, is elegant, and has potential of aging. This was a great satisfaction too.
So we could conclude the brightest future for Cheval des Andes. And then
I think so. I'm convinced about this. We are doing everything for that. Cheval Blanc is very participative in this project, mature project now. And I think that people are observing now that and the wines are at the level we were expecting during 2 decades. Now it's we are at the we are continuing, but we are. It's a great satisfaction, sincerely.
Excellent. Probably you could stop to share the screen, then we could go to the wine pairing because otherwise share also with the audience.
So stop sharing.
And do you think that Pierre Louveton is coming? This year very difficult with the COVID situation, but it's supposed to come to Argentina.
Pierre comes once or twice a year in Argentina, so it's a pleasure each time to receive him. And I don't mention it, but Pierre is our president. He's the president of Cheval des Andes, so we are very proud to have Pierre And for us, and he's very, very participative and more participative for Cheval des Andes. And he will, I think, people will see him more and more speaking about Cheval des Andes. So it's quite nice for us.
Great. I think that I will answer a last question. Let me see. We will come back to viticulture, and it's Hugo again asking, have you found any change in photosynthesis for grape ripening thanks to the altitude compared to Bordeaux? If so, do you harvest earlier, or do you use that to develop other aromas in the grapes?
So photosynthesis is quite interesting because, of course, when you have lots of photosynthesis, you have often, it depends on your canopy. You could have, if you let too much canopy, we could say it's in French, machine for sugar. You have lots of sugar. So now, photosynthesis, we have, of course, a big difference between Bordeaux and Mendoza. The parallel is not the same. We are in altitude. So we follow a lot this technical aspect. What it is, and so we are very, very careful about photosynthesis because more you have photosynthesis, more you have sugar in your grapes. What we have observed, which is quite interesting, and I will give you just I'm not going to speak as I could speak a lot, but we have observing that I don't remember how you called it. Tela, Cristina, as you say, tela, toile anti-grêle. It's because you could have some hail here, and we protect the canopy with a net, and this net has an impact on the photosynthesis, and an interesting impact because you have less photosynthesis. And so we develop for two reasons: to protect our vineyard, but it has an interest on the photosynthesis. So it's quite interesting to this question because it is a subject that we are following, and we are very focused on that with the team and with our consultant Xavier Chaunet too, and the Cheval Blanc team, technical team.
Excellent. Once again, to the audience. We don't have now the time to answer much more questions, but be free to write me an email. I will direct the questions to Gerald for you. And let's, since we already have discussed about wines, it's important also about talk about wine pairing. And maybe Gerald would like to suggest some of the wine pairing that are your favorite wines to try today. Today we have a chef from
Hi, chef.
Hello.
And the chef has proposed us today, and I have different recipes for you. Maybe you could see it clearly.
Yeah. So, wow, I've seen all my favorite dishes. So, steak tartare, I love it. And then you have some. I've seen some. Yeah, some lamb. Wow, great. And at the end, wow, this is my favorite one. Yeah, I love it. And it was one of my recommendations. It was Rossini, Tourneau de Rossini, beef with Rossini. I love it. But with Cheval des Andes, the three dishes are great. I think that. Sincerely, the steak tartare you could have maybe the 2016. It's a great maybe your 2016 with tartare. 2012 maybe the Tourneau de Rossini Rossini beef. I love it. And for maybe with the dessert, you have some dessert, no?
For the 2012, or maybe with the
2012, you could have a lamb of Tourneau de Rossini. Essentially, It's great. But the chocolate. What is exactly the chocolate? It's a good chocolate cake. It's 75. It's a moelleux, no? It's a moelleux. Yeah. For my own recommendation, so this for me is the perfect menu, and I love this menu. And you could imagine, I'm hungry. Sorry. But I could recommend too some cheese. I love cheese with wine and with Malbec and Cabernet Sauvignon and the type of wine we are making. You could have pieces of Comté or something like that. And about dishes, of course, I'm not original, but now I'm living in Argentina, and an asado, so it means grilled part of the beef. It's quite good with our wine. I love Côte de Bœuf, the French way of making and everything. So I'm not very original because I'm in Argentina and I've discovered asado and people it's a specialty here and so you make often you drink these wines often with asado, but you have several dishes which are adapted. Slow cooked meat, grilled meat, chocolate, cheese, chicken, everything you want.
Probably chicken with a stronger sauce, I think, or a grilled.
Yeah, but now, for example, the 2016 is adapted for a white meat, and very because you have not all the structure. So we will have some vintages. Everything, nothing is fixed. As we interpret each vintage, we will have different wines every year, of course, but fresh wines, elegant wine, and with potential of aging. This is our vision, and we'll have some vintages more adapted to the chicken, for example, of course, with a strong meat, with a strong sauce, maybe sometimes, and over for Tourneau de Rossini.
We have also we are really out of the time, but and we apologize to our audience. But let me just show about the label of 2017. It is something very important to mention about it. I think, right, Gerald?
Yeah. Very very quickly. We have decided to change the packaging this year. So not only because of course the wine. Wines have changed the last years. Now we are very our style is well defined and the identity of the wine is well defined. But we had to because Cheval Blanc is very involved in this project, and we have to show that Cheval des Andes is a member of the Cheval Blanc family. So with the 2017, we have decided to change the label and to bid for people when they look at Cheval des Andes, they think maybe about the Petit Cheval. Of course, you see the family, so it is the white wines of Cheval Blanc, dry white wine. And of course, you have then, I will do it like that, if you want. And you have Chateau Cheval Blanc, which is quite, so we don't want to lose the fact but we are in Argentina and we are making an Argentine wine. So it's why you haven't the red capsule. But when you look at the label, you see something that, okay, maybe it's a family, the same family. So it is quite important. We have changed the wooden box and everything, which were very important for us to valorize the packaging of our wine too, to be logical in what we are doing and in what Cheval Blanc is doing here in Argentina, and we continue. We will continue for several years and decades and centuries. It is the goal of this project.
Gerald, thank you very much. It was a fantastic time. We hope that the webinar feel the expectation for the audience. We know that so many questions have been put on the side, but don't worry that we will answer them. I wanted just to have your help from a number from the 1 to the 37. We have a 37 assistant to the webinar. So maybe you could help me with a number. We need to make the lucky draw of one bottle of the Great 2017.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't. Now I was thinking about one thing. We are finished now. No, no. Yeah, I want to thank you. Thank you so much. And I want to say something about the context and what is happening and more for Hong Kong people. So I'm following, of course, what happens all around the world. And I wanted to give all my support to, of course, Hong Kong people and to the professional people who are working in the wine industry, because we know that the context is quite particular, and so I hope that we will everything will come back at the normality. We can say that for very quickly, because we need to continue and I hope that the wine industry and of course sommelier, restaurants we will have a good future, and so I will come to Hong Kong regularly when everything will stop, and so I hope to see all the other people there, and I will share our great wines with all the people.
We will let know our audience the day that you will be back, and it would be a great moment with you to have this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. Sorry for my English. Sometimes I'm a bit lost. I'm learning Spanish now, so it's sometimes a bit difficult for me.
Don't worry. I think that you was great tonight. So, but please come in with a number from the 1 to the 37.
Yeah, sorry. 18.
18. Okay, let me see. Okay, I have the name of Mr. Y.C. Cho. Y.C. Cho.
Great.
Yes, congratulations to him. We have a bottle of 2017. I will contact Mr. Cho or Mr. Cho very quickly after the webinar tomorrow. Thank you so much again, Gerald, to Chef Luján de Cuyo from Wine Biz, and also our friends of Desseauve here in Hong Kong that allow us to be to have the pleasure to welcome you here in Hong Kong virtually. So
thank you so much. Thank you. It was great, Cristina. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the audience. We will be back very soon with another webinar.
Thank you.
Bye.